Welcome back to the Valley of the Suns podcast. I'm Kory Miller, and this is your Rookie Watch podcast for January 21st through February 7th. It's been 2 weeks since our last Rookie Watch, and the Suns have played a total of 9 games in that span, going 2-7. They started the stretch off with a really nice road win against Toronto, before dropping 5 straight to Minnesota, a back-to-back versus Denver, Memphis, and the Clippers. The Suns rebounded from that 5-game losing streak to beat the Kings in Sacramento, before dropping the last 2 games of this stretch versus the Bucks and the Pelicans. Marquese Chriss had a fairly good stretch in these 9 games. He definitely had highs and lows. He started off playing 17 minutes against the Raptors, compiling 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting, including 0 of 4 from behind the three-point line, with a rebound, 2 steals, a block, 4 fouls, 2 turnovers, and a -10. The next game against the T-Wolves, he played 12 minutes with 5 points on 2 of 5 shooting, including 1 of 2 from behind the arc. He had 2 rebounds, a steal, a block, again compiled 4 personal fouls, but this time no turnovers, with a -13. In the first game against the Nuggets, he only played 8 minutes, scoring 5 points on 2 of 3 shooting, 1 of 2 behind the three-point line. He also had 2 steals and again had 4 personal fouls with a single turnover and was +2. In the encore game against Denver, he played 17 minutes with 4 points on 2 of 4 shooting, 0 of 1 from behind the three-point line, with 3 rebounds, 2 steals, a block, 5 personal fouls, 0 turnovers, and a -2. Against the Grizzlies, he had likely his best game of the season to date. In 34 minutes, he scored 20 points on 8 of 12 shooting, 2 of 4 from behind the three-point line, with 6 rebounds, 2 steals, a block, 3 personal fouls, 3 turnovers, and a -4. He followed that up with a tough game against the Clippers, in which he played 28 minutes, scoring 9 points on only 3 of 15 from the field, including 1 of 6 from deep. He had 5 rebounds, an impressive 4 steals, an assist, 2 personal fouls, no turnovers, and a -5. Against the Kings, he played only 16 minutes, scoring only 2 points on 1 of 6 shooting, including 0 for 3 from deep, 2 rebounds, a block, back up to 4 personal fouls, a single turnover, and a +1 rating for the game. Against the Bucks, he rebounded with the best game of his young career so far, and a very impressive performance in 24 minutes. He scored 27 points on 9 of 16 shooting, including 3 of 5 from behind the three-point line. He also grabbed 6 rebounds, had 2 blocks, 4 personal fouls, no turnovers, and was a -22. He finished off this stretch games against the Pelicans, playing 17 minutes, dropping back down to 6 points on 3 of 7 shooting, 0 of 2 from behind the arc, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 personal fouls, no turnovers, and a -1. Total for these 9 games, Chriss played an average of 19.2 minutes, scoring 9.1 points per game, shooting a respectable and about average for his season 42.6% from the field, but that included a pretty poor 27.5% from behind the three-point line. He also averaged 3.1 rebounds, an impressive 1.6 steals, and 0.9 blocks per game, but unfortunately he also averaged 3.6 personal fouls. He was a combined -54 for this stretch. Before we dig into the good and the bad on Chriss for this stretch, we should note that he was awarded Rookie of the Month for the Western Conference in January, which is a great honor and something that hadn't been accomplished by a Phoenix Suns player since Amari Stoudemire did it twice in 2002-2003. Chriss has had, I think, a good season so far, and with the relatively weak crop of rookies in the Western Conference this season, maybe even at points a better season than what we would have expected out of him coming out of school, because he was thought to be a very raw prospect. But he hasn't had a great season, and he's definitely not in contention for Rookie of the Year. That'll be Joel Embiid. But I could definitely see Chriss making the first team All-Rookie. And he's definitely growing and maturing in his game, and I think that's part of the encouraging signs I see from him as the season goes on. In this stretch of games, he had 2 really good games and a couple really bad games, and then kind of a mixture in between, and that's been typical of him so far this season. If you look at the Memphis and the Milwaukee games, in both games he scored over 20 points, was very efficient with his shooting, shot well from behind the arc, and really compiled a pretty impressive stat line. So he's showing that he's capable and that he's growing. He still has tons of potential. I think in those 2 games he really showed what he can be in the future. I think his ceiling is he can be a really good all-star level stretch 4. Very athletic. He's shown he can knock down shots when he's open. He still struggles with shot selection, especially from 3-point range, and he needs to work and improve on that. That should improve as he matures a little bit. The biggest thing with Marquise still is his foul trouble, and specifically fouling early and sending him to the bench early and kind of knocking him out of that rhythm and really not letting him get comfortable as the game progresses. You can almost see a direct correlation that when his fouls stay down, he has a better game. He's more efficient. His stat line looks a lot better. And when his fouls are really bad, that's when you see more of the games when he plays less minutes and normally shoots a lower percentage, and he's out there in spurts. And he's just never able to get into a good shooting rhythm because he goes out and fouls so quickly. And that's something he's going to struggle with for the rest of the season, probably into next season, and maybe even beyond that. But if he can just start to improve a little bit, at least in the first couple minutes of game, so he can kind of get out and start to get into a rhythm as the game progresses into the second quarter, he's shown that he can earn NBA minutes even with how young and raw he is. So even though he's been kind of an extreme case of being up one game and down another, I do think it's encouraging, and I think there's a ton of potential. And I'm really still super excited that the Suns were able to pull off a trade to get him. And I'm really excited to see how he grows for the rest of this year, and also moving beyond into the 2017 Summer League and the start of his second season. Dragan Bender was largely absent in this stretch of games for the Suns. In the first game of this stretch against Toronto, he only played 4 minutes before he injured his ankle and left the game. He then missed the next 4 games, the Timberwolves, both games against the Nuggets, and the Grizzlies game with the ankle injury before he came back and played 13 minutes against the Clippers. And after that Clippers game, he's missed all 3 games since with the same ankle injury. Taking a quick look at the few stats he did compile in this stretch, Bender played 4 minutes against Toronto, scoring 0 points. He was 0 of 2 from the field. He had a rebound, an assist, 2 fouls, and had an even plus-minus. In the Clippers game, which he did play, he had a somewhat efficient game. He played 13 minutes, scored 5 points, 2 of 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from behind the arc. But he did grab 5 rebounds. He had 2 assists. He only had a single foul. He committed no turnovers, and he was a +1. Again, because of his ankle injury, there isn't a lot to talk about Bender for this episode. I do think he had semi-efficient minutes versus the Clippers. He didn't shoot great, but he grabbed some rebounds. He didn't foul. He committed no turnovers. He was a +1 in a game that the Suns lost. So it's good to see him get some minutes off the bench and contribute like that. The biggest thing for him right now is just to get that ankle healthy, obviously. If I were the Suns, I probably actually would not call him day to day, and I might just sit him down for an extended period, maybe 2-3 weeks, and just let that ankle fully heal. The Suns obviously are not contending for a playoff spot this season. There's no rush to get Bender healthy and back in the lineup. You don't want to risk doing any more long-term damage or something that might affect him moving into the summer and summer league and the off-season conditioning. So if I'm the Suns, I would probably just sit him down for a few weeks, let it completely heal, and see where he's at after the All-Star break. Tyler Ulis played in 4 of the 9 games in this stretch. In the first game against the Raptors, he played 6 minutes, scoring 4 points on 2 of 4 shooting, with a single turnover and a single personal foul, and was -11. In the next game against the T-Wolves, he again played 6 minutes. He scored 3 points on 1 of 3 shooting, including 1 for 1 from 3-point range. He had a rebound, and again had a single turnover, a single personal foul, and for that game he was a -5. He was a DNP coach's decision for both games against Denver. And then against the Grizzlies, he played 15 minutes, scoring 5 points on 2 of 5 shooting, including 1 for 2 from deep. He had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 personal fouls, 2 turnovers, and was a -3. He then proceeded to be a DNP coach's decision again for the next 2 games against the Clippers and the Kings, before playing 3 minutes against the Bucks, going 0 of 1 from the field, no turnovers, no fouls, and was a +1. He then finished out this stretch again with a DNP coach's decision against the Pelicans. Total for this stretch, Ulis averaged 7.5 minutes in his appearances, averaging 3 points, shooting 38.4% from the field. He did make 2 out of 3 shots from beyond the 3-point line, but he only averaged half an assist per game. He also averaged a turnover per game and was -18 for the entire stretch. I know there's been a request to talk more about Ulis, and I'd really like to, but he's not playing very much right now, and there's not much good in this stretch to really go over. One positive is he did make a few threes, so he has shown a little bit that his range will translate from college to the NBA. But unfortunately, he's not getting consistent minutes. He's not the backup point guard, especially now that the Suns have signed Ronnie Price to a second 10-day contract. I would expect that Price at some point throughout the rest of the season may slip into that backup point guard role. And again, as I've said before, if I'm the Suns, I would go put Ulis in the D-League for the rest of the season just so he can get starters minutes night in and night out, because he just needs some development and he needs consistent minutes. And playing a few bench minutes every other game, I really don't know how much that's going to help him. He's definitely shown in stretches and at points that he can come in and run an offense, and I think he definitely still has the potential to be a good guard in this league for a long time. I don't know if he's going to translate to be a starter in the NBA, but I do think he could have a Nate Robinson type career where he can be a really solid backup and maybe even the 6th man at points for certain teams. He's definitely fearless and aggressive and kind of has that Robinson mindset. But again, without getting consistent minutes right now, I really don't see a reason for him to be with the Suns. I think he should be in the D-League. I think that would definitely serve him best moving forward. That's it for this episode of the Valley of the Suns Rookie Watch. We'll be back again in 2 weeks with another episode, highlighting all the good and bad from the Phoenix Suns crop of rookies this season. Please check out valleyofthesuns.com for all your Phoenix Suns news, analysis, and opinions. And don't forget to check out our other podcast episodes. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, hate mail, it can all be sent to votsuns@gmail.com, votsuns@gmail.com. And once again, until next time, thank you so much for listening.